Today is Monday, March 28th, 2022. The time is now 10:01 a.m. This is a special meeting agenda regarding our airport. Officially calling the meeting to order. Attending are Commissioners Duncan Brooks and Filios. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we're here with our Director, Stephen Kiergaard, members of our advisory board, and Corey from TO Engineers. So first business item, March 9th, 2022, Advisory Board Minutes discussion. Stephen?
Yep, the first item that we actually had was a discussion on about Part 139, because some of the tenants in the Pilot Association have been asking about what's the value of the 139, and that's why we put that on there. I think Joan wanted to speak to this specifically.
Well, I was just
Or
gonna.
read the minutes, so.
Yeah, I was just gonna go over some of the highlights of the
Yeah, go ahead.
minutes, rather. So we did have a good discussion, I felt, between the advisory board members that were there and us. And the outcome of that discussion was that Chairman G. Feller suggested there be a workshop for additional discussion and conversation, which we're gonna move forward and plan when he's back from vacation. It appears that Frank O'Connell commented that, Frank O'Connell, hold on, bear with me here a minute.
I think it was Friday.
I don't remember specifically who it was, but one person at the advisory board brought up that they're not totally against Part 139, but they wanted more discussion, learn more about it, and I think that's probably a good thing. They also thought that we were taking property tax dollars, and that was creating, on their part, having to pay money to offset those, but really those property tax dollars, I think, were for a purchase of land, correct?
Yeah.
So, so that was pretty much it, and I think that based on our minutes too, where Stephen talked about it's a decision of what we want our airport to be. I think the advisory board overall in their discussion supports retaining Part 139, and so leave it at that.
So, really,
Oh, sorry, I didn't have the mic on.
and so what it amounts to is, what does the board at the BOCC want to see as a level of service? I think there's a little bit of a confusion by some of the pilots that if you get rid of 139, you're not changing your level of service. Well, 139 mandates the level of service that we're at. And I brought this up at the end. I said, okay, say this board agrees, yep, we're going to be at this level of service. What happens at the next BOCC that says, well, we want to see a budget cut, we don't have to do these things anymore? Like, there's specific rules that we have to follow, like the grass only can be 6 inches tall, and it has to be 6 inches and maximum of 12 inches tall. Well, if we don't have 139, that doesn't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. We don't have to paint as much. We don't have to do snow removal the same way. There's a lot of things that suddenly change of the necessity of needing it. Mm-hmm. And yes, this board might agree to it, but what happens 10 years down the road?
I highly doubt 10 years down the road, with the amount of growth we have, that there's going to be a board of commissioners that would go down that path, especially because you have these large business owners like Stancraft and some of the other people moving in on the north side who, there are customers. So, you can't service the customers without this designation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Stephen, for the benefit of everyone involved, just briefly, 139.
So 139 it's primarily considered for commercial operations.
Right.
We have what's called the Class 4 139 certificate, which allows us to accommodate non-scheduled aircraft of 30 passengers or more.
Okay.
And we take calls. In fact, a couple months ago, we received a call from Allegiant and some other agent group of a charter that wanted to bring in an A320. We have the facilities that can accommodate. We have a stair truck. We have all these things already in place that we can do that. We also have basketball teams that during normal years that will use us because we're slightly closer to Gonzaga, or if there's if the NCAA has the tournament here, they'll come here because it's easier than Spokane.
What do they do as far as airport security? I mean,
So
going through the metal detector type thing.
So with that, that airline is responsible for that,
Okay.
ensuring that that's compliant, they check IDs, they do different
Okay.
things. It's different rules follow those different aircraft. Or under those operations, you have about 4 different types that they can
Okay.
work under. But this allows us to accommodate those flights, but also sets a level, as I said, a level of service that you look at Empire, they've expected, the Forest Service has expected this, Stancraft has expected this. That's what they'd signed a lease underneath. And
Yeah.
if we change that, I've had a brief conversation with Rob Bloom, also Tim Combrick, and they were not enthused by the idea of us losing 139 because it is how we agree that we're going to hold this airport to that standard.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I think
Yeah,
with
go
the further discussion with the Airport Association, I think with the further discussion of with the Airport Association, it's a matter of the north and south side, so to speak, of the airport learning to work together, because I think they see the north side development as a threat to their day-to-day, flight, recreational flying. And so I'm optimistic that we'll get that solved.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also think they viewed it as the 139 cost us massive sum of money. Well, if you're not changing the service level,
Right.
really it's not that much money when you start looking at it. It's the fire training portion. Well, it's not a bad thing that we have a fire truck on site and we
Right.
have staff on site that can operate it. Because if we lose 139, the first thing my comment is that truck goes away and we don't even claim to have any activity with it.
Yeah.
Because right now, I just signed the documents for sending staff to go to fire training. It's about $1,300 to send one person. Okay, so we have 7 people that go. That's not that much. It's $10,000. And yeah, there's some other programs that we use too, some other training stuff. You might look at it as $25,000 to $45,000 a year. You might save from losing 139 if you kept everything the same.
Yeah. I don't think there's any
Yeah,
push
yeah.
countywide advocating for losing 139. So it's
I
just a
don't either.
conversation and, it sounds like that they just had some questions that needed to be answered, so.
Yep.
Can we move on then? Item 2?
Yeah.
Okay, parcel 19 Ramsey Road, City of Hayden purchase.
Sorry, we're still
no.
have some other items.
Oh, you got some
Yeah.
other items? Go ahead.
So we also this is just initial comments about fee review. CPI adjusted to 7.48%. We've attached the calculations on there, and that'll be a public hearing. And we also recommended adjusting our landing fees. And they are not landing fees, airport use fees. They're not called landing fees. They are also in there as item C. So if you have any questions, we can do that. As you can tell, every place is kind of all over the board. What we're recommending is basically in line with Friedman, Haley. So if the board wants to go slightly lower, higher, it's up to you. One thing I have noticed during this process is the ground leases. We're actually behind the market. If you look at Haley, they don't even list their ground leases right now. Kalispell is Glacier Park.
Yeah.
49 cents currently for ground leases. They expect to go to $1 per square foot within a year. A lot of, if you look at McCall, they're at 30 cents a square foot. Actually, the state of Oregon just completed last year an entire fee and rate structure for the entire airport, and I've actually been pressuring the state of Idaho that they should be doing the same thing for Idaho as well. And when we look at resort communities like we are, the average ground rate is between 30 and 35 cents. So when you look at our rates, we're proposing the new private ground rate as 22.7 cents per square foot per year, and the commercial at 28.4. We're behind the market on that, and Spokane's at 26 and 27 respectively on the airports between Spokane and Phelps. I'm not saying that we adjust massively, and we'll probably do a full true cut estimate next year, but we didn't want to do that with CPI being as high as it was. But as we're doing more and more research, we're finding that we are behind the market when it comes to our ground rents.
So 5 cents compared to Spokane, is that
Yes,
what I understood?
compared to Felds.
Yeah. Okay.
So and this only affects new lease rates and lease rates at their 25-year renewals.
Okay.
The existing rates, they just are what they are for the most part, especially the older ones. They are clear, their only way to be increased is they follow CPI, that's it. The newer leases we can modify based upon market analyses. So if we find that we need to raise it to 26 cents for next year, we have that ability to later.
Okay.
But this will be on as a public hearing later, at a later date. So, for staff updates, we attached the forum if anybody has questions. I know we're gonna be talking about the SRE building here in a little bit. Sewer inventory, we should be getting that back here in the next couple weeks. They actually just completed it. We were waiting for snow to go away because we had a couple manholes missing. Also, Air Expo, we're tentatively on the schedule for the July 23rd and 24th. So that's tentatively when we're looking at the Air Expo, so we should have the B24 or B25 and B17 up here as well.
How many people do you expect that to attend approximately?
We had 4,500 people through the gate last year.
4,500? That's very good. That's very good.
So, and we'll start this week. We'll actually start we'll create the Facebook stuff. We'll start advertising on Facebook. We'll start pushing on it.
Now, is the Marine Corps League doing anything for
Marine
you?
Corps League is gonna have their cart thing or their trailer thing. Cap will be there. Basically, as long as it's something aviation related or anything like that, we're not really charging anything for this because we're using the Corland Aviation and Maintenance hangars as our facility this year instead of having to rent it.
That's good. They're good people.
That was our big cost the previous year, was the tent, really. So,
Keep going.
association update, they asked some questions about the AWAS and runway and lighting project upcoming. The discussion group that we talked about. Public comment, Jeremy with D-Zone is requesting a waiver, which we just received while I was just before I went on vacation. Just to give the board an update, right now I'm refusing to provide him a lease document for his about 2 acres because he cannot prove to me or show that he is going to meet the minimum standards of anything. So he cannot provide it where he's gonna have a facility, how he's gonna operate, anything that the minimum standards clearly defines that he needs. So he's requesting a waiver to get out of that. Based upon his request, that's gonna be between 3 and 6 things that he's asking a waiver for. So what'll happen is that'll go to the advisory board. The advisory board can either approve or deny. If they deny it, he has then the right to go before the BOCC, and then you can choose to approve or deny his request for a waiver. If you deny it, his next option is to file a complaint with the FAA.
Now, why is he refusing to?
Basically, he doesn't want to build a facility. Nobody will rent him space. And wants to just rent the landing area that he can land his parachute operations at and operate off our tie down. And we don't allow him to do that.
Okay.
We require all of our SASOs to have a facility, have parking lots, have an area to park their aircraft. As part of that facility, they have to have restrooms, a place that meets their needs, such as basically, in their case, pack their parachutes, brief their passengers about their jump, take reservations, those kind of things.
Where have they been doing it?
They were in Resort before Resort got bought out by Stancraft, and Stancraft terminated their lease agreement. So there was a few operations operating on a resort that are either left in the field or relocated elsewhere on the field. That's actually one of the comments about Shane Rogers. As I've said previously, it is not the airport's responsibility to ensure everybody succeeds on the airport. It's merely to provide a level playing field of everyone. So.
Okay.
The other comment, which I just got an email about, was Walt Frazier. They're interested in building another FBO on the field. So I just emailed him this morning, so.
Okay, so how's that process go? He presents to the advisory board and then the advisory board,
I have to
recommendation.
understand what he's trying to do. That was the first time I had spoken with him, was that night, so. I need to understand what he's trying to do a little bit first before I can say one way or another.
okay. And does he have any lease on the airport right now?
No.
Okay,
But this will take a substantial investment because the development would have to be west of Empire.
Does he have relevant experience?
He has quite a bit of experience based upon what he provided to the advisory board, which I don't know if it's in the packet or not.
It's okay.
But it's the FBOs that he was a part of when we did more research was a company called Lynx, if I remember correctly. They are well known for, it was Ross, excuse me. They're well known for packaging groups of FBOs, then selling out. So
When I was part of the prior board, weren't we approached by them, if my memory serves me right?
Lynx, yes, but this was Ross.
Oh,
that they're
okay,
part of.
okay.
I've dealt with Ross in the
Okay.
past. They usually package 10 to 15 FBOs together, sell them to a larger organization such as Signature,
Okay.
and then do it all over again. That's what they do.
yeah, and we have his bio in this
Yeah, yeah,
packet,
yeah.
so
Okay.
read it online.
Any questions? All right. So moving into, if the board's okay, I'll move into item 2.
Okay, second item,
Can I?
parcel 19, Ramsey Road, City of Hayden purchase. Discussion, go right ahead, Stephen.
So this is a continuation of the discussion about land sale to the city of Hayden. This is the other parcel that we talked about kind of before. This is located at the end of runway, to the east end of the airport.
Okay,
It is actually outside of our perimeter fencing.
yep,
I have a couple issues with their offer. For one, I want them to buy the whole 3 acres. I don't want them to give us 75% of the remaining and then we keep the rest. I want them to buy it all because I view it as an uneconomic remainder. So if you look at this page,
Yep,
you can kind of see the fence line running through there. I want them to take all 3 acres there. So we would get a little bit, that's gonna be my recommendation for a counteroffer if the board provides that direction to me. Because I don't wanna have to be responsible for 1 point some odd acres outside of our fence on another side of a road.
and what's their position?
They are just trying to say that it's damaged and then we still own it.
Oh, okay,
If we were offering this same way, the person that we were offering this most likely would come back and say that this is uneconomic remainder and that you need to purchase it all. And that's what my response has been to them in the past as well.
so really what you're saying is there's no value to us with the
There's
remaining?
no value to it.
Right,
so,
This kind of discussion is very common in real estate
Yeah.
dealings where somebody wants a part of a land, but not this part.
right, right.
And,
Also, we do not want a permanent easement. We would look for them to purchase out that permanent easement as well. Basically, they're just buying the entire 3 acres. We don't want to deal with anything outside of our fence anymore.
so if they do that, can they let the grass grow 6 feet tall?
It's not our property, we don't care, but they wouldn't. It'll be, the closest portion of it is actually just basically almost right to their sidewalk. So the property that's left over is actually to the east of the roadway on the other side of the road. So we really don't want to have to cross a public road.
So I don't have a color copy.
Yeah, I don't
So
either.
just so I understand that the double lines and then the portion to the east, that is all 3 acres?
Yes, so basically if you see a light gray line kind of running just inside that roadway.
Yeah, just show me your page.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so from this line here is 3 acres.
Yes, so this is our fence line right here.
Oh, okay, okay.
So we want them to purchase everything outside of our fence.
Yeah, that's a little, yeah.
Okay.
We don't
Yeah.
want to be responsible.
Yeah, let us know what they say.
Sounds good.
Okay, and that's it for that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Item number 3, approval of budgeted Ford F-150 purchase. Go right ahead,
So
Steve.
it's just a discussion, with the attaches a memo that will be on tomorrow's meeting. When we purchased the toolcat, the auditor's office took $11,000 out of our capital budget instead of just taking the $11,000 out of our fund budget. I thought that was the direction, but they didn't.
Okay.
So we're $11,000 short from the pickup that we were budgeted last year that has taken a year.
21,
That
yeah.
has taken a year to get here. So this number was twofold. It's to approve that, yes, we can still go out and purchase it because it's gonna be here tomorrow or today. And that we're gonna take $11,000 from our fund balance, which is about $1 million right now, to pay for that 11,000.
Yeah, you have nothing in your operations budget to cover.
I mean, I'm sure we could find it someplace, but
Okay,
if we need to, we'll take it from our fund balance. So we have enough money in our fund balance to cover it.
What is it replacing?
We'll start replacing some of our old pickups that are early 2000s,
Okay.
so,
So vehicles that are about 20 years old.
yeah.
Okay. All right, and this is coming before us tomorrow?
Yes, and I just wanted to have a conversation with you, and
Yep.
make sure you were aware that
And the vehicle, you said, is arriving today or tomorrow?
today or tomorrow, yeah.
Okay.
We only ordered it in May of last year.
yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Any questions? Okay. SRE, snow removal equipment, administration building discussion. Go ahead.
Actually, it's me.
Yeah.
that-
Oh, it's
that
you.
put this
Go.
on. So there's been a lot of stuff flying around, and then I realized going back through my paperwork that there is quite a bit of confusion on a couple different levels. So let me kind of set the stage, and then Stephen, you can steer us where. So I have this capital improvement project, and in October, it was slated for $2.4 million for the SRE building. So is that including the admin portion or not?
It's
Okay,
not including the admin portion.
okay,
You have to keep in mind, we do not know pricing yet,
correct, right.
so.
So then tomorrow's grant is for the state portion of it, which you have listed as 60,000, but it's 300,000?
So the state has a grant this year for $300,000 for any project that an airport has.
Okay,
And realistically, we don't want it to go to high priority FAA projects that we have going on this year too, because the runway design is a high priority, they'll find money for that. So it has to go to the SRE building.
Okay.
That's it.
well, I mean, that benefits us.
It benefits us extremely well.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So then, I guess my question is, do we have to have a 5% match still, or do we just have to come up with the 10%? And if ITD is covering the entire 10%, we're okay?
I have no idea yet. I can't answer that because I don't know a price yet. So if the price
Okay.
comes in at so right now, counting the 300,000 and all of our grant money we have coming in from the FAA, we're at about 2.2 million, 2.3 million. That's where
Okay,
we sit
so,
today.
So hold on one second.
Yeah.
2.2 or 2.3, and that's without our match?
It's without our matches.
Okay, and that is FAA approved already?
That's already. So we had a roughly 1.3, not counting so far today, which is just unused, $1 million already from the FAA that we already knew we were getting, plus our NPEs, which is our entitlements and things like that. And then, am I correct in my numbers, Corey, today? Make sure I'm right.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't quite hear you guys.
Sorry, can you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
come up
good.
if you're
Take a
comfortable
seat
sitting
right
next to
next to him,
Stephen?
yeah.
That way you're on the thing.
So we're sitting, also with the FAA, we have 353,000 over in the next 5 years, each year, that we're allocating to, the next 2 years will go to the SRE building, and then after that, it'll go to snow removal equipment. Because this building is planned to be going out as a 24-month build cycle.
Okay,
Because that was one of the issues that the builders were having problems with, and that's why we delayed it 2 weeks, is we had, due to the FAA's request, they were requesting to chop off one bay, what was the pricing there, and they don't like 2-year build cycles, they want it as short as possible.
sure.
And the contractors were coming back saying it was too complicated because we already have it separated out between the SRE portion and the admin portion.
right.
Because it has to be that way.
Correct.
So we throwing in that third option was, were not unable, it was too complicated is what they were saying to us.
The builders were
The
saying
builders were
that.
saying.
Okay, so on that line, I don't want to get too far off because I still want to concentrate on the money part of it. Did we give everybody more time?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that was published and all that stuff.
Yes, so it was originally, we're required to publish twice originally, and then it's basically out for everybody. So everybody that is signed up on the either plan holders lists or that attended the pre-bid was sent out an email or a notification that the bid had extended, and that was basically to simplify it and to
Yeah.
allow them more time, because they could have quite a few subs to create these buildings.
Yeah.
They were telling me that they didn't have enough time to complete the bid package originally, so we had 0 bidders.
Sure.
Or we would have had the very first time. I believe, and I'm hoping tomorrow we will have at least 2.
And back June, we had how many bidders, which we
So
rejected because it was too costly?
you had the one prime contractor, and some things you had 3 to 4 bidders on it, some things you had no bidders.
Okay, but in general, we just had kind of one main one, and we rejected it because it was too expensive.
Yes.
So we'll find out tomorrow afternoon if we've made any progress to see if we can
Okay,
do that.
so
Okay.
take me back to the match.
So right now, I don't know. I can't tell you what that hard number is going to be right now, because if it comes in at $2 million,
We've got the match.
there's no match involved with it.
Correct, yeah.
But if it comes in at $3 million, we'll actually have to pick up about $800,000.
Okay, and where will that come from?
It'll have to come from our budget, and either the county money or airport loan,
Okay.
basically takes a loan from the county to pay for it.
Okay, so after tomorrow afternoon, can we just have another conversation? Obviously, we'll know more, so, because I really don't want to commit to 800,000 at the moment unless we have a really good path forward. But the bid tomorrow, will that include an ad alternate for the admin portion?
Yes.
Okay, so then we'll know separated out, how much is
Get
that?
2 prices.
Okay, now, the ITD 300,000, can any of that go through to admin, or no, only the stuff that qualifies under FAA?
It's only an AIP. It has to be for projects that are AIP eligible as well, is what I understand from the
Okay.
state grant.
Yes, and that's what I figured, but there's always hope.
We could do another grant request to the state and ask for them to assist with the admin portion.
Sure,
I don't think they'd be opposed for us to ask that
okay,
assistance.
okay,
Whether they would do it or not, I don't know.
Right.
They have had 3 years of not having a single grant out because every FAA project was 100%.
right,
So they've been just collecting, that's part of the reason why this grant is so much higher than it typically is they have money to do it.
Right. So I think part of the confusion too is it's, for tomorrow's application, it's listed as a 1.3 match, 1.3 million match, and we don't have that. So that's where I think some of the angst was coming from.
Yeah, and it's just in a grant application that realistically, that number is a big guess.
Sure. And then is that including FAA money or no? That's just a true county grant or
So-
match? Sorry.
Yeah, so I think I had a spreadsheet that was attached to that grant application that had, so what we believe the FAA has slated basically in a grant or in a spot for, you guys asked for more from the FAA, more money for the SRE building, but the amount that they have right now was like 750,000. Then plus your NPEs for 150,000, and then,
About
plus
700.
this 300,000 from the state.
Right.
So our original estimate on this building, I actually increased it from last fall or last spring because things have cost
Gone up.
more now.
Yeah.
And so that's where I got the 1.3 million is if it comes in higher like we could expect it to, that would be the county's portion. But, you know, after tomorrow, like Wednesday, midday, I think we should have kind of like this is where our numbers are. And we'll hope that the FAA, a lot of times they come in with a lot more money than they say that they have at the beginning, like when they actually start to write the grants. So you guys asked for more money than the 750,000 that they currently have in a spot.
Right. So I'll go look at that sheet that you did. I guess my concern too is I would want the CIP to be updated. So, because otherwise this is all I have to go on, you know, and it's 2.4 million without the admin. So that's where I just want to make sure that it's easy to follow. How's that?
And I have a gut feeling that the FAA is gonna be looking for a home for a lot of money this year. And this may or may not be one of the last grants they issue this year because they made us, this is one of the longest holds I've ever seen on a building. And it's, 120 days is what we made them hold it?
Yes.
So how many bids are you expecting tomorrow?
We hope to.
You hope-
I have 3 people that have been talking to me, but one of them kind of went silent towards the end of last week, so I'm wondering if I only have 2 remaining.
Okay, so then it's going to have to undergo, obviously, legal review, correct? Okay, so are we, back up a little. Okay, so for the admin portion, is that on us?
That's on us.
Okay, right, the FAA has been steadfast in that they're not going to support that, okay. One of the,
But Stephen is saying potentially ITD may come up with additional funds.
may come up, okay,
Okay.
so now where are our grants folks in this whole thing? Because I think they're having a heartache.
So when I look at our process compared to the state's process and the Fed's process, an application is an application. I could submit 15 applications for anything to the FAA at any point in time. Doesn't mean we're ever gonna get those things into place. And that's where I think we're having our disconnect right now with the grants folks, is the state, the county's policy says you have to have all this money in place already for an application.
Right.
Well, it's an application, it's not, you're not guaranteed anything in an application. You sign the grant, you should,
Yeah.
but we could submit 7 grants applications to the FAA saying, I want a new SRE piece, I want a new ARF truck, I want all these things. The FAA's gonna go, thanks.
Well, and I think part of the reason why we've done that in the past, because we've had other departments not have that match and yet apply for all these things. So it's disingenuous to have the application if you don't have the matching grants.
Yeah,
So,
there's got to be some level of consistency and transparency. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody's out to try to hassle you. I think the idea is we're trying to keep it consistent throughout the county.
right, but I think the 1.3 million match is where you don't have that, and so that's where that huge
Right, right.
thing has come. And so I understand it, and we're gonna have that conversation after we get the bid. So it's almost like if the grant would have come in for approval on April 5th instead of at the same time as the bid openings, I think we could have done away with some of the angst.
And the problem is we don't get our grants until September, in
Right.
August and September, and we have to bid it in April.
Right.
And that's our problem is okay, I don't know half these numbers of what it is for to deal with half of this stuff that our grants folks want, because it's a best guess in this time what a contractor might think when we apply for it.
Right.
But why is that any different from any other segment in the county?
If you look at what half of the other stuff, they actually have a hard number when they actually submit the grant, the application. We don't. We're one of the few departments and projects that don't do it that way. The FAA just doesn't do it. That's just not how they do it.
Right. Well, once again, I think the catch right here is because Corey had to plug a number in. She plugged it in. It just happened to be 1 week early, just because it would have been nice to get our bids. When we got our bids, then the grant would have come in fine. We would have had the right numbers, the grant application. So I think we're fine to move forward, and we'll know a heck of a lot more tomorrow afternoon.
Yep.
So I would say that ITD also had an original grant application date of April 15th, and then they realized that they have a statewide meeting where they're going to review all of the applications on the 10th, I think, of April.
So that's why April 1st is
So they
the
bumped it
push.
forward it was like 2 weeks ago. So it was a really quick, we really want this money and would like
Yeah.
to be considered. Let's quickly get this grant application done so they can be presented for the board, the statewide aviation board.
Right.
So.
Is there any
Makes
risk
sense.
to the match?
For filing the application,
No, not for the filing, but I mean, depending on how this pans out, is there any risk to our getting the match, depending on which way it goes?
so if we don't like the bids, we just don't approve.
We
any of
just
the
don't
bids.
approve them?
Yep.
The only risk is we may have to pay back the FAA about $200,000 to $300,000 for the design. Well, we still have the design of the building in place, and if we come back later and say we go to the FAA in 5 or 6 years and say, hey, we want to put this back onto our project lists, because I think we're going to get to a point where the FAA is going to get forced into doing something like that soon. Because of other things going on at the airport, they'll have to fund it with more money. So that'll get pushed up higher. So it's just something that we'll get paid, in my opinion, we'll get paid back later at a later date regardless.
Yeah. Well, we just need one step at a time, and tomorrow we'll know a heck of a lot more how to go forward with this. And I mean, bottom line, if we can't get the snow removal equipment, that's service that we can't provide. So, got to keep moving forward. I just saw there was just all these different aspects that were a little bit confused in this time, but it's because timelines changed because we didn't get the bid 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's a perfect storm. So I get it, and I will do my best to explain that all tomorrow when we're talking about it at the business meeting.
So
Okay.
for funding, to kind of talk funding real quick. We do have one more north side application done today. As of today, right now, the airport is at $1.2 million basically for rent per year of rental.
Okay.
If you approve the fees basically and realistically our budget's about 1.3, I think was the adjusted with capital. If you approve the the airport use fee, that's about $200,000 to $300,000 per year of additional fees there. Our fuel flowage, if we hold at $1 million, is about 90. The car rental fees is another 50 to 60. Once we sign some other north side leases, that'll be probably about another 40 to 50, actually more than that, but another $100,000 there. The gun club, if they ever agree to anything, will be more money. And then also should be getting a proposal here in the next few weeks or so, for somebody to actually lease the 20 acres to maybe build the storage unit where we take a percentage. So instead of a land lease, they'll actually we'll take 10 to 15% of all sales for the storage units.
Okay.
And I said I offered them two different options, and that's obviously before you as the board, but basically I said I have to make $400,000 at least to pay my rent. That's what you should pay me. But if we can make more and you guys can be more successful, we'll do that too.
Now, is it a true 20 acres though? Because if the ski club stays,
Yes, it is. Where we'll have a little bit loss is if you have to develop Ramsey Road a little bit or anything like that. It's
You mean
actually
rights of way?
Okay,
way.
okay, because technically right now that Skeeton Gum is taking up the 40. And,
But it's 60 acres, you remember.
60 total.
yes, yeah,
It's up
20,
northern.
20, and 20,
It's up northern 20,
yeah,
so
yep. So there's a buffer.
there's that 20 acre northern part where somebody's interested
Okay.
in, developing that out, so. And
So you've been approached.
we've been approached, yes.
Okay.
Well,
How many units potentially?
initially 5 acres, but then if you look at every storage unit in the area, they're full.
Yeah, the one by my house is going from probably 5 acres to 20 acres.
And that's their goal, is they do an initial 5 real fast, and then they go up to 10 and then 15 to 20.
Okay. Anything else on item 4 on the SRA snow removal building? Nothing? Public comment? Hearing none, I have 10:42 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.